family, good, happy, and I'm glad, to have such a beautiful family that supports me. But yeah, work is also winding down, and I'm, of course, teaching, and I have to do all my reports and on time, and make sure that all of my students are, served according to what they put in throughout the semester, and that is the kind of discipline I think I want to speak to here that Mr. Cummings brings to our national leadership, where people are giving what they deserve. They give People get what they put in, and so I'm looking forward to discussing that type of discipline that we all Liberians should look forward for in a leader.
Well, thank you so very much. Again, happy to have you. So let's start the discussion here quickly. Let's start with your declaration of support for Mr. Cummings for the presidency of Liberia. My first question: what is so at stake that you are expressing support for Kennedy Cummings?
Thank you. You see, Anthony, let me first uh, make this clear because a lot of people may not know uh, where I've come from.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in 2005, I was uh, heavily involved in the politics. Even prior to that,
Mm-hmm.
I'm originally from the Liberal Action Party,
Mm-hmm.
and in 2004, I became a member of the Liberal Action Party, and I served as a zonal head in was then I think District 9, the district that Honorable 4 won in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I may be mistaking the number. I think it's
District 16.
District 16. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yes, I was a zonal head for my zone in that district, and we campaigned for then candidate Vanny Sherman, who was
Mm-hmm.
the Liberal Action Party.
Mm-hmm.
But before I got involved with the Liberal Action Party, a very, very, very accomplished Liberian, peace be to his ashes,
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Nathaniel Richardson.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Nathaniel Richardson, he was a geophysicist,
Mm-hmm.
and he was head of, I think, AMLIB Liberia, United Minerals. And I came across him when he had expressed his interest to run for the Senate seat
Okay.
in Montserrat. And I personally invited him to my home. And
Mm-hmm.
at that time, I was a local businessman in my community. So
Mm-hmm.
I invited him without asking him for anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I entertained him. And then he told us his reason he was running for the Senate. And I bought his idea, I bought his philosophy, and I mean his work ethics, what he wants to do. So he was one of the person who really got me involved with the Liberal Action Party, and then I later became a zonal here. And then fast forward,
Mm-hmm.
we merged with Unity Party, and then we give our support to Madam Salif and the Unity Party in 2011,
So by
2017.
default, you became a member of the Unity Party.
Yes.
Are
So
you still a member?
I was actively involved in the
Mm-hmm.
2011 elections,
Okay.
where I led a youth, a political youth group for the Wukiam Youth Movement for Ellen re-election,
Okay.
and based in Painesville. And the records are there that when we collaborated with a group called Liberian Youth for Ellen re-election was Lister, who pulled the highest. It was the highest crowd we ever pulled in the Painesville area.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the current managing director for NPA can attest to what we did in Wood Camp, Painesville area during the 2011 election when Bill Twire won. We campaigned heavily. So I think we've done a lot in the little space of time that and the opportunities that were afforded us to express our political view and will, and but at this time we are in changing times, and we are making decisions based on the current realities, the current challenges that are at stake.
All right. So you did not, I didn't hear from you that you have resigned from the Unity Party that you became a member of by default, and now you are expressing support for Alexander Cummings. You want to tell me whether or not you stay a member of the Unity Party?
Well, I haven't done
Hmm.
anything official yet.
Hmm.
I did, as you rightly said, I have expressed interest in supporting Mr. Cummings
Hmm.
bid for the presidency, and I hope to do that officially. But
Hmm.
for now, I will continue to make a case for him and let people know that at this point, whenever you're making changes, you make changes based on the trend of events, the circumstances.
Hmm.
You can continue to be stuck in the past, and using the same ideas of the past to, correct the present and hope for a bright future.
Are
So,
you, Saki, hold on. Are you insinuating that the Unity Party represent, like in my own words, yeah, the old order, the past, and you want
no,
something new?
no, you're not
Okay.
going to put words in my mouth here.
Yeah, I
What
don't
I'm
want to do
saying,
that. I'm just asking my question.
when I talk
Mhm.
about past, I'm talking about my ideas that I
Okay.
had. I'm
Okay.
being personal about it.
Okay.
So the ideas that I have are in previous elections about what I want to see my president, who I want to be my president, who I want to support, the ideas that I have. I don't have all those same ideas anymore because we are in changing times, and
Okay.
there are a lot of things happening that we need to sit and look at.
Mhm.
I actually had a thought process. Like, what I normally do is that if you've read this book by Jack Canfield called Success Principle,
Okay.
and whenever it has an equation in that book that says uh, uh, event plus response equal outcome.
Okay.
And whatever you do in life is your response to a particular event. It could be this show, the way you and Jai respond to having this show currently,
Hmm.
determine the response. Determine the outcome. That is the viewership, the expression of interest from people. If you come on online late,
Hmm.
your viewership may drop. So your outcome is heavily dependent on your response.
Hmm.
So how do you correct things when you get a bad outcome? Is you evaluate your response, you evaluate the ideas you bring in, the philosophy you have, you think it's working well. So I had to do self-evaluation of what the ideas I've harbored over the years. Do they really align with current realities? What are we looking for as Liberians? And are we looking for competence, people who are who have accomplished results, people who have worked in with organizations that have managed huge budgets, have control systems and make sure and manage people and manage change. And I think Alexander Cummings mirrors the image of a president that I have sat in vision. So that's why I think supporting him, and it's of no regret to me. I am looking forward to seeing that kind of president that is going to lead Liberia from the current, or mismanagement, the poor governance, the breakdown in the rule of law, the lawlessness, and all these things. We need someone who mirrors the image of a good leader. And Alexander Cummings is that person that I think Liberians have to sit and put the party sentiments aside. Look in the individual, look at his CV, look at his track record. What has this man accomplished? And how can that accomplishment, how can his experience be translated to public office? And let's test competence. We've tested incompetence for so long.
Thank
This
you.
time around, I want us to test competence and see what comes out of competence.
Thank you so very much. Again, folks, my guest is Dr. Saki Golafale, who has expressed his support for Alexander Benedict Cummings, not only for the CPP candidacy for president, but also for president of the Republic of Liberia comes 2023. And we are in this exclusive conversation with him about his expressed support for Mr. Cummings. We will get to Cummings very quickly here, but few questions, maybe two, on what we were discussing, and then we can come to Cummings specifically, which is one, you have been a member of the Unity Party, you are leaving. I know your friends will not be happy. I know that for a fact. So you will have a lot of explanation to do. So the first question there, what do you tell them? That's one. And two, now that you have transitioned or you are transitioning your support, I would say support, not necessarily transitioning, does it mean that you will automatically or eventually become a member of the ANC?
Thank you for the two questions. The second question could be a yes or no question, but let me answer the first question.
Okay.
As regards what I'm telling my colleagues, what I'm telling my friends, I know a lot of my colleagues have reached out to me, asked me about reasons about why I'm declaring my support for Alex Cummings. Let's be frank. I told you initially that the ideas I had harbored years back are no longer the same. We are in changing times, and current realities does not support those ideas anymore. So, and I look for someone who has ideas that can influence change, ideas that can influence a nation that its people, and improve a governance system where everyone will be happily working towards improving the lives of our people. And I've told people that the reason I am supporting Cummings should be the reason you should join me. The fact that people who admire my work, who follow me, they know the principles I stand for. I have a good work history of course, I've not been, people may say, oh, you've been in government. I've worked partly with government, but not employed with government. I know I've worked with the Ministry of Education. The records are there. There are people who still admire my work. We've done great things that all of my admirers, people who follow me. When I make decision, I'm making decision not only for me, I'm making decision for people who follow me to see it, to see how rational it is. So I owe explanation to these people. And as we go along, they will get to know more and more the decision I made about supporting Mr. Cummings, as we go along. So the what I would tell people for now is go and listen to Mr. Cummings, read his track record, read his work history, how he went through, how he managed to rise through the rank and file of the Coca-Cola company. That alone is enough to any rational person will think that yes, Mr. Cummings embodies competence. He embodies quality. He brings to Liberia that experience in managing processes, managing change at organizational level. So I think that's the kind of person, for those who are my friends who follow me, want to see who can properly manage a country like Liberia. You need experience that a man like Cummings has had.
And I saw you providing explanation in the direction of my question. So I need more of that because, it is easier said to say, yeah, this person embodies everything, but people want to see some practical specifics or an example, if you like. So, what do you see in Kennedy Cummings as a person and also as a leader that have convinced you, for which you express this support for him openly?
So I'll be very straight with this. You see, when you Mr. Cummings, one of the things I've observed about him over the years is that he's
Mhm.
very consistent with what he says,
Mhm.
what he wants to do. He's very straight about it consistently. I have listened to clips upon clips upon clips. This man explaining the same thing that he explained 2, 3 years ago. He's still saying it, and people are still asking him, you know, and that consistency. The man has a vision, he has a plan, he's a visionary. He doesn't twist and turn. And one of the things you admire when he's constantly interviewed is about the issue of holding people accountable, whether you support him or not, whether you ran his campaign, if you were involved in corruption or taking public resources. It is not about whether you support him or not. It is not about, oh, Mr. Cummings, you know me. I have not heard any candidate running for the presidency to express that for fear that the people who support them, who've been accused, is being alleged that they're involved in malpractices and they're supporting candidates because they could easily, slip through the process. Mr. Cummings is not biting his finger on that. He's very straight about it. He say, if you're supporting me because you want to be exonerated from some malpractices, if you want to be involved, this is not the Cummings you will get. He's making it very clear to people. He's very frank, and that honesty is what I look for, and that's the kind of honesty I want to see in a leader when he expresses he tells people what his principles are. You can support him no matter what. When you're involved in something, do not use that as a way to cover up because you have a relationship with him. That's the kind of country we have to have. Not because he's my brother or he's my cousin. That's why our systems don't work. Because
So,
everyone knows somebody and they want to cover up their bad deeds. And our
so
system is so
let me
strangling.
jump in here, Saki. All you explain, there's a key word you mentioned that I want to pick up here: honesty.
Yes.
So, my question is he the only honest man you see? If not, then why him over another honest person?
Well, there are a lot of honest people in Liberia. I can
And he's
tell
the
you.
only honest man running to be president, you
No,
see?
no, no. I'm saying there are a lot of honest people in Liberia.
Okay.
you know, but the system does not give us the opportunity to see the expression of honesty in our fellow Liberians. There are a
Okay.
lot of honest people in Liberia, but there are so many bad people. And in order to root out the bad people or to make the bad people good, we
Mhm.
have to elect honest people. I'm not saying there are not honest people in Liberia, but I'm saying that his expression of honesty in that statement,
Mhm.
there are a lot of other things he says about surrounding accountability that people, regardless of how much you support him, accountability will have no friendship. There'll be no friendship in accountability. There'll be no friendship in persecuting people who are involved in malpractices and so forth. That I have not heard in anyone, and that is an expression of honesty, I think.
All right. Thank you. So, you know, there have been something people call motivation that you are aware of. And, some may be good and some may be bad. But my question is, what are your motivations for this express support for Mr. Alexander Cummings?
Well, I think some of the things I said previously uh, uh, may have answered this question,
Okay.
but I'll repeat myself that Mr. Cummings embodies or he mirrors the kind of leader who can change Liberia in this kind of time. We need someone who is very honest, who expresses his honesty, does not uh, drag on his words because he wants to be politically correct. And that alone motivates anyone that, okay, yeah, if there is a police incident, if there's an incident of involving a public official, and even if that public official was Mr. Cummings' campaign manager, that doesn't automatically qualifies him to go free. That has been the case over and over in our 170 plus years of existence. We have seen things happen and they're swept under the carpet because of some political alignment or because someone is afraid to uh, lose his political respect for a particular person or group of people. There's a lot of and all of these things. It impacts the countries moving forward. It impacts our country's ability to move forward because it happens our in the it happens in our it happens in the banking area. It happens in the government, sector. It happens everywhere. It happens in community. It happens. People just compromise. Think about the rape cases that occur around. People just compromise it because, okay, I know the man, I know that. But we have to build a society where we have to close our eyes to ensuring that everyone is treated right. The issue of justice, accountability, the rule of law, it has no friendship. We should treat people the way they are supposed to be treated. People deserve, no, let me say one thing. In leadership, especially with public leadership, you want to work towards public interest. That's why it's public. It's not private. And over the years we've seen people think public office to be private. They do whatever they want because the system is so built. It's built around uh this brotherhood or sisterhood agreement that you can do anything and go free.
All
And,
right.
and let me say the last thing.
Please do.
A lot of things that Cummings said, which I think that motivates me, that we will get rid of this saying that people say this is Liberia. You know what that means? When someone says, "My man, this is Liberia," that is that standards are lowered, that anything can happen and just be swept under the carpet. So with the Cummings presidency, the "this is Liberia" phrase will no longer mean low quality or substandard. When we say this is Liberia, we'll be speaking about quality, we'll be speaking about improved processes, we'll be speaking about efficiency, accountability in governance structure. We'll be talking about the from a little boy waking up in the morning, he's gonna make his bed up because what he does in his home will be a reflection of him outside. That discipline from home to the community to the larger society will be something that when we say this is Liberia, it will no longer be a Liberia where everything can just be swept under the carpet.
Thank you. So, Saki Golafale, motivation for supporting Alexander Benedict Cummings is not because he's close to him or he wants a job, but it's only for a better Liberia. In short, that is what I'm getting from you. But Saki, let me come to this. Sometimes we have friends
Yeah.
and they tend to have influence on us, and sometimes they sway us in certain direction, sometimes for good and sometimes for bad. Sometimes it's dissecting, people that's they're saying that all politics is local. So with that, I ask this question. I see peer pressure or a state solidarity as an impetus for this support. Do you agree or disagree? You and Cummings share the same state of Atlanta, Georgia. So he's from Georgia, you from Georgia, all your Georgia friends are in your ears, they're in your inbox. Saki, what are you doing? Boom. Saki is on board. Is that what it is?
And let me and I would say no, but let me tell you what it is.
Okay.
You know, I met Mr. Cummings in 2013. My first time I encountered him was in 2013 right in Atlanta here at the Liberia Association for Liberia in Atlanta,
Mhm.
and then I had previously heard about him before then. And interestingly, you think that the whole thing about this, what the average Liberian man would do, support someone because the person did something for you.
Mhm.
And Cummings, and this is not the reason I'm supporting him, because if that is the case, I would have done it in 2017. I recently graduated from a school that Cummings also graduated from, Clark Atlanta University, and he got his MBA from Clark, and I got my PhD from Clark. But guess what? My stay at Clark, I owe much to is I own that to Cummings, part of it, because Mr. Cummings was
So
uh
two important
no
things there. Let me
no
interrupt you. Two
no
important
let
things
me
here.
let me
You guys
finish.
share the same alma mater, and to some extent, from what I'm
Yeah,
hearing from you, he made a contribution there.
yeah. What I'm saying is that prior to me, when I got to Clark, I didn't even know how my support came. But
Mhm.
Mr. Cummings was chair of the board of trustees,
Okay. For Clark.
and yeah, but he didn't know me. He didn't have to know me, right? So being board of the trustees, I'm sure that uh, approval of budget or whatever, approval of funds for my scholarship, I think he made his impact on that. So I mean, I understood his connection to Liberia from that point, but I didn't look at it as a payback. Okay, yeah, Mr. Cummings was chair of the board of trustees of Clark Atlanta University, and Saki Golafale got scholarship. So yeah, I gave my support to him. I was getting to know him. So it's always good to know people, not just because they unknowingly support your effort. He didn't know me. He didn't have to know me to how you call it, sit on the board of Clark Atlanta, for which
But Saki,
you
he
know
may have not done anything, right? It could be
you
a
know
decision made based on your qualification for the scholarship. Don't you see it that
yes,
way too?
of course, but I'm saying that I at some point I think that the board that he served on may have made some decision about funding or whatever was it. I cannot go into all of the details on it, but it's not because we're in the same state.
Mhm.
If that was the case, I would have told myself in 2017 that, oh, Mr. Cummings and I I'm from the same school. Oh, he was the chair of the board of my school, so I must support him for that. No, there was something more to that I knew, that he being the chair of the board of trustees, I think that had an impact on my education, which I was very glad. I had funding to support my PhD, but that didn't lead me to make a political decision about supporting Cummings, because I believe in a principle of not to pay back, not to give people political office or elect someone because they did something for me. He did it out of the will. He did it as an institution. He didn't do it as an individual. I said, okay,
All right.
there's some Saki there from Liberia. As he will always say, it's not you don't have to be a Liberian, but I indirectly benefited from him. But that's not the reason I'm supporting him, and not because we're from the same state. I stated clearly why I'm supporting Mr. Cummings, and that is based on the kind of leader I have envisioned,
Okay.
that I have sat and thought about, by myself, and made a decision that I think he embodies that character of a leader that Liberia needs, so desperately needs right now.
Thank you so very much,
And
Saki.
just let me make some point here.
Do
I
that.
may not explain well on the whole issue of his leadership on the board of trustees. So
Mhm.
if there's any kind of confusion, forgive me for that. But I know he was on the board when I attended Clark, and I strongly feel his influence there was kind of benefit to me. But that had nothing to make me decide on what I support him or not.
Thank you so very much, folks. Watching us here, focus on Liberia, the hour of politics with me, Ansony Sieh. Dr. Saki Golafale is my guest. He has expressed support for Alexander Benedict Cummings, but we know that he has been a member of the Unity Party. This is strange. What? Really? Why is he doing this? These are the questions and many others that we are asking. Dr. Golafale,
Yeah.
we always talk about building institutions.
Yeah.
And here you are supporting an individual because I continue to listen carefully. My support for Cummings, my support for Cummings. We've been talking about institution. Instead of
Yeah.
supporting an institution, now you are here supporting an individual. How do you reconcile that?
Well, I am first supporting Mr. Cummings for the CPP nomination. That's why I keep emphasizing on his name.
Okay.
All right. And when it comes to the issue of the institution, unfortunately, Liberia has not been blessed with institutionalizing our political parties,
Okay.
where people are grow through the rank and file of the party, politics and get their deserved, part to play. And I think that is something I hope to I look forward to working towards institutionalizing. And it's not just a one man's thing. It's everyone has to, be involved, and we have to have policies that will enable building institutions instead of individuals. So that unfortunately that is the case now. But with the kind of person I think Mr. Cummings is, the ANC in the future, I'm looking forward to an institution that, of course, where everyone is welcome is normally the case. I feel welcome by people from the ANC, and I think we'll go on with that, making our contribution to our building a better institution and making it more vibrant and not based on single individuals. That is something that across Liberia we need to make our political parties more about institutions than individuals.
Given this open expression of yours for Mr. Cummings, has anyone or the leadership of the ANC reached out to you and said, my man, you want to come, come. Don't come and sit behind the door. Get in the house. Have they?
Oh, I mean, it's not only people from the ANC, but Liberians across that have known me, and people who follow me, even people who are, we all were under the same political, house in 2017. They've joined me. Some people decide to be quiet about their support, and that I agree with. But I think when you come up openly, it shows your level of confidence in the person you want, and that's why I think coming up openly is important because people want to learn about your candidate. People want to see the vision he has, how well can that vision be translated into lifting it out of the poverty in which they live in today. So I think everyone else who have reached out to me is not only ANC, people from uh, former seditious have reached out to me, and they have expressed support. Some of them have done openly. Some of them we are having conversation. So this thing is not just about ANC. It's about all Liberians. As Mr. Cummings rightly said, when people ask me about his constituent, it's not just Maryland. The constituencies, it's the whole Liberia. So people who are reaching out to me, they are diverse from different political parties I have spoken to, and we're doing our work quietly, and hopefully we will be on the ground to we'll stand in the mud and raise our voices, for people to know that we're out for change this time.
So what I'm hearing is while you are facing the direction of Cummings and the ANC also, you are pulling some people with you. Is that what I'm hearing?
Oh, definitely. I'm not, I'm talking to people. I'm explaining myself to people. I'm telling people what Cummings stands for, what the CPP stands for. Right now, it's not just about the political party. It's about the CPP, framework. and how we can keep it intact, and what the CPP means, the strength of the CPP. And I think why I think Mr. Cummings will be the right person to lead the CPP when the selection is made. And that is the message I'm carrying out to people. There are some people who are disenchanted about who should lead. I think that is a part of our democracy. We have to allow people to express themselves. It's a competitive process. And I don't think people should get mad at when people are coming up with all of the issues and negativity. But at the same time, they have to be careful that you keep shooting yourself in the leg. You may not get up and walk when the time is ready for the race. So all parties involved have to be a little bit moderate, because our politics is not like the U.S. where the Bernie Sanders will go at neck to neck with Biden, and then later they will work together. In our politics, people are moved by what you say, what you do, and how you say it, and then you want to flip quickly. They question you quickly, like, okay, where are we going? You were supporting this person. You were saying all the bad things. Now you're supporting them. So we're reaching to the point where our politics is getting mature. People are questioning. There are a lot of questions coming. Electors are questioning why you're doing it. Why are you doing this? Why are you making this decision? So we have to be careful that we are accountable to the people who follow us. So some of the things we say, especially when you're in a marriage, you say a lot of things about your marriage outside. When time comes, that marriage cannot hold. It will be all about you. It's not about the people.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, folks, Dr. Saki Golafale is my guest here at the Hour of Politics. He has expressed support for Alexander Belande Cummings. Saki, let's come to the numbers.
Yeah.
This expression of support, I will consider it like, squashing just the surface. It's not a real deal. We're talking about politics here. We're talking numbers. So my question here is, Saki, how do you see Cummings getting more numbers to win the nomination?
You see, Anthony, let's be straight here.
Okay.
There is no one person in Liberia right now who has the numbers. Yeah, no single politician has the numbers.
But he must find the numbers.
You have to find the numbers. And I think the CPP has found the numbers.
How?
With collaboration with the collaborating political party, they constitute 47% of the 2017 election. So think about that, the number. Where else are you going to get the number from? The reason people are so are still in their box about this whole number issue is they are not thinking like a unified force. They're thinking like they're still in a single political party. If you're thinking about the numbers, then you're not thinking about the strength that CPP will bring in 2023. Because with CPP, the numbers have been there's evidence, clear evidence from 2017, from 2019, 2020 election, midterm election. It's a clear evidence that CPP has the numbers. It's not just an individual. All right. So if people are still dwelling on the number, it means we're not together. Are we together?
But Saki, what we're talking about now is an internal search for numbers to produce your candidate. So yes, I will agree. I will not debate that with you. You have good number, or good numbers within your ranks and file, but these numbers you have to play with them to decide a candidate. And I'm asking you, how can Cummings pull more numbers within your rank and file to get a nomination? How is he going to do that?
Well, I wouldn't want to go into that because there are people who you may want to speak to on that issue. I'm not into the whole CPP leadership to speak to that number issue. So all I can tell you is the issue of the number in relation to his standing in the last election shouldn't be an argument, because once we go in as a unified CPP, I think the numbers are there. And one thing I want to say If you look at the current trend in the population growth, the young population, look at the numbers. All right. Unfortunately, we haven't had census, which only a responsible government would have done at the time.
I thought we just had census, Saki.
The what?
No,
The
I'm just wondering.
I
Tell
mean,
me if we have it.
educate me if they had it.
I'm not sure, Otto. So let's go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So if we had a census, we have a knowledge of the distribution of the population among young people in the age group and stuff. But here's what I want to say: from 2017 to 2023, you expect to get people who were 12 years old in 2017. By 2023, their age will be what? They'll be 18 years, right?
Yeah, 18 years. Wow.
And people who were 13 years, they're going to be 19. 14 is going to be 20. And up to, so between the age group of 12, those who are 12 years to 12 years to 18 years, they're going to be what? It's going to be between what? Between the ages of 18 to 25. You're going to have a good number of new voters coming with different perspective, different mindset about what they want to see a leader is. All right. And you're going to have that group. Nobody owns that group. Who can boast of that? Nobody knows the number right now. So in 2023, while we have the old voters, we're going to have new voters. And tell you what, Mr. Cummings is reaching out to the new voters, to young people. And that is something that I think will be a force that the CPP will have in 2023. Because young people want to see someone who can communicate. That's one of the attributes of Mr. Cummings and his level of communication. He knows how to communicate with people. He understands, he comes down his communication. He speaks one-on-one with people, the simple English. He knows communication. That is something that a leader, you have to be able to reach out. He's very energetic, and that's one of the things that you want to see.
I'm hearing that from you. I'm hearing that from you for the first time, that Mr. Cummings resonates, that Mr. Cummings connects with the ordinary people. He knows how to speak, to their understanding. I'm just hearing that from you. When that started?
Well, I mean, I've listened to him throughout the years.
So you are understanding him. How do you know that the young people are not? Because here's the thing, Saki, this may not be 100% true, but we know when the people are listening to you, hearing you, that when you are resonating and connecting with the people, giving how they follow you. Mr. Cummings does not pull crowd. DeLon pulls more crowd than he does. And I can even say President Weah pulls more crowds than he does. So when you say, he's connecting with the people, how are we going to measure that?
Well, I think I initially stated to you that within the CPP arrangement, we have the numbers, right? So whether it is Dillon, Senator Dillon, is Mr. Cummings, we have the numbers. And if we take the numbers we have as our treasure to 2023, we're not going to be questioning who pulls the crowd or not. It's the CPP crowd that we're going to pull. Okay, so let's leave the argument about the crowd issue. Cummings is not calling rallies. He's just visiting communities. He's speaking to people. He moves around. He's going from county to county. His movement. He's not calling rallies. If we want to call the rally, you're gonna see people coming up. And right now, people are hungry for to see who's there to pull them out of this kind of or what I would say unfortunate situation we found ourselves in the last 3 years and going to 6 years.
All right, let me ask this question quickly, Saki. So, how are the CPP chances better and even stronger with Cummings as its candidate for president?
Well, I think Liberians want to see, as I said initially, Liberians are tired of electing incompetent people. we've all throughout our years elected incompetent people to steer the affairs of our state. When I say incompetence, you don't have to have all of the degrees to be competent, but
Mhm.
your work history, your the result of what you do should be seen, should reflect in the life of the ordinary people. And Mr. Cummings, given the current situation in our country, we need someone who brings in competence, who knows how to improve systems of governance, who can translate his leadership from the corporate world, the private sector to the public sector. I think that's one of the arguments people have been making around here, and Mr. Cummings has made it quite clear that despite he being, as they would say, the Coca-Cola man, it's kind of denigrating to even think that Coca-Cola is a low level, business. I mean, men who went through the rank and file of the corporate is a big company, manage people, manage system, manage big budget, manage over more than 150 countries across the world. Liberia, the only difference between uh, the private sector and the public sector is in the public sector, we deal with laws and legislative, legislature approve, make laws for people to function in their different capacities. And how the budget is managed is based on the laws. That is different in public. But understanding the laws and implementing them, are involving understanding the vision and the mission. All of these things, work in private sector, in corporate areas. People look at their vision, people look at mission and align them and work towards achieving their goals. They do strategic thinking, in solving problems. They are, like Mr. Cummings said in one of his interviews, they are private and public institutions that both involved with delivering results. And he's a result-oriented person. Looking at his work profile, he's more than qualified to work in public sector. So, and one of the things I need to make clear here is when you hear people say Mr. Cummings is not experienced, because that is one of the arguments they're making on the CPP ticket, or even the opposition CDC is making that he has no experience in government. He should go and run for representative. You know what? Let me lay this argument to rest. They're right. Mr. Cummings doesn't have experience in the kind of government we've been running for over 150 plus years. Think about the kind of government we've been running. Very disorganized, no focus, no vision. People just go in government and corrupt the system and go free. Cummings does not have the experience of running government the way it's been run. Government is an institution, it's an organization like a big corporate organization like Mr. Cummings has headed. So he hasn't had the experience of being involved in corruption that people run around with. That is the experience. The experience that he brings is ensuring the issue of accountability, the rule of law, and which has not existed for a long time in our country, since our country was founded. And those are the experiences people say he doesn't have. To be a corrupt person, yes, he doesn't have the experience. They have the experiences that have kept the country so bad.
Dr.
It's
Golafale.
those experiences that when Mr. Cummings is elected president, he's bringing in fresh ideas, new experiences he's bringing on board. So the argument about he doesn't have experience, I agree with it. He does not have the ugly experience that our country have been, mismanaged over the long period of years. He brings new ideas. He brings the Liberia. He want to make Liberia like a comeback to the world. That's what I think a man like Cummings will bring.
Thank you, that Saki Golafale there, making the case. And he's here making the case for Alexander Belinda Cummings for the CPP candidacy and also to become president of the Republic of Liberia. I was listening to you carefully. And, you know, some people now saying, hey, we've seen this movie before about somebody coming from a result driven oriented kind of terrain. Mana Ellen Johnson Sirleaf comes to mind. She came from the UN cycle, and what we saw, she brought some of those UN expertise, right? One of which was pay them too much money, even though the budget is so small. Why shouldn't Liberians be, suspicious, if for lack of a better word, that this Cummings might become another Ellen Johnson Sirleaf scenario, bring everybody from overseas or abroad, and make sure you give them 20, $15,000 a month because their justification, oh, I took these people from a very comfortable place. They need more money to be comfortable to get the job done. Don't you see that is reason for some people to say, no, I don't think coming is good for Liberia? Your response?
So the simplest answer to that is Mr. Cummings has always said this. The best predictor of future performance is past performance. Mm-hmm. That's it. When you look at the two people you just talked about, people can, do the assessment for themselves, examine them, their past performance over the years, and you will determine whether a man like Cummings will be the same old story. So the best predictor, as he always says, of future performance is past performance and past results. When you look at his track record, you know that the results, you can weigh them compared to other people who have taken public leadership. And one of the things he stressed on is that he will look for competence. People think that anyone can just run a government. And a lot of the argument that come from people in the ruling party right now is Mr. Cummings has not had experience. He can work in government. I'll tell you what, a lot of them that work in government right now, they don't know what they're doing. They don't have any experience. They don't understand the core duty of public service. Take for a typical example. Just yesterday, a finance minister of the Republic of Liberia, Samuel 12, celebrated his birthday in a grand style on a working day. Now think about it. What kind of serious country does that? And if Cummings was the president, his finance minister would not have done that. That's his private thing. On a working day, an important day, May week, a finance ministry, the ministry that at the fulcrum of our economic activities. The minister is celebrating his 50th birthday. And think about what happens in Liberia. People don't go to work on time because the source of leadership is the president. And once the president drags everyone behind him, does the same. So Mr. Toyer will do that because the president will leave his busy schedule and go play soccer. So Mr. Toyer will do the same. So a Cummings president won't find his finance minister doing that. That's why he stressed the issue of competence. Look, people have to be serious about this. If you want to see a Liberia like Rwanda or other countries around the world, you have to attach seriousness to competence. Nobody wants to go sit under anyone else, any kind of person to do surgery on them. No. The same way you don't want an untrained doctor to do surgery on you. It's the same thing. We don't want an incompetent person to lead our country. And if you're talking about the issue of Ellen being competent, there is a degree of competence. We can measure competence on results, on performance, past performance, and all those things. That's what I think measure competence on. And by the way, 2005, I was one person who didn't support Ellen because I was looking at her past record. All right, I just want to make that straight here. But frankly speaking, we have to stress on competence. That's the only way we can strengthen our system. The system is so bad that people are pushing against competence and giving way for incompetence because that's the only way the crooks, the mischief will continue to happen. And people there. There are people who benefit from these things, and they wanted to continue that way.
Thank you. Again, folks, the phone number is activated for you to call. If you wish to call, the number is in the strolling text below. That number is 605-313-6004. Enter that code 791403#, and you will be given the opportunity to comment or ask a question. Focus on Liberia. Ansony Sieh hosting the Hour of Politics. Dr. Saki Golafale is my guest, though still a member of the opposition Unity Party, has expressed his support for Elizana Belende Cummings to win the CPP nomination and go on to win the Liberian presidency. He's telling me he has the competence. But we saw some competence very, lately with the Ellen folks.
Not the same thing.
Okay, but he's saying that's not the same thing.
The definition of competence is based on past performance and results.
All right. So
not just going to getting the degree. I got PhD, but that doesn't define competence. I have to show results of what I have done. And that's one of the things Mr. Cummings has stressed, that before he gives people public office nomination, before he nominates, he has to see your track record. It's not because John Brown has a degree in this, that means he has to go there. And one of the things he talked about that I strongly support is putting people in the right place based on their competence, based on what their specialties are. You find out that somebody goes to school, the government spend money on people, get master's or PhD in education. You find them in some, mismatched area. You think about it. All around you find someone at central bank doesn't have any business doing that, but because he wants, it's a political appointment. You find another person at finance. That's not their area. Just mismatching. People are not in their rightful places. It brings about waste, and that's one of the things Mr. Cummings has stressed on. That putting the right people in the right place will bring about efficiency, will improve processes, will make sure the government meets the need of the ordinary people.
Thank you. Let's come to our final segment here, which is the Cummings plan for Liberia. Saki, anybody who runs or is running for president should have a plan for our country.
Yeah.
That is what I have interest in. Show me your plan, then I will know you are serious for business. So let's come to the Cummings plan. Let me start with this one. Besides platitudes, has Cummings stated what he will do differently when he becomes president? Because all we hear is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. That is not a plan. So, Saki, I will assume you've done your homework before expressing the support for Mr. Cummings. Where is the plan that Cummings has for Liberia and what it is?
I like when you say doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. It's similar to what I stated initially. What I said, event plus response equal outcome. If you don't change your response to the event, the outcome will continue to be the same. Do you think that if I go to school every day late and I get a failing grade, the next semester I go late, you think I'm going to get a passing grade? It's doing the same thing over and over and expecting to get a different result. That's insanity, as it is usually been said.
And that's why I asked the question, where is the Cummings plan? Because people in the past, we have not seen meaningful plans, responsible plans, serious plans. Where is the serious plans for Cummings?
So the issue is, Cummings is when Cummings says that, he saying it in a way to motivate you that you need to change your response to things that you do, the way you elect people, the way we choose our public leaders, the way we appoint people to public functions. We have to change our responses, because if we want a different outcome, we want a country that will be productive. We want a country where we have the middle class, are improving lives in in the slum communities, getting people, scooping people from poverty. We have to change our responses to issues
And
from
I
the
agree. And it has to be a plan to
and
do that.
so
So where is the
that
plan?
is it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that Cummings said as part of his plan, he was asked, go and watch all of his clips, you will see.
Mm-hmm.
The issue of accountability is one of his first priorities is
Mm-hmm.
accountability, where there will be audit. Because look, Mr. Cummings worked in corporate institution.
Mm-hmm.
So I've worked in private institution before, industry, and I know that when you take on a responsibility, you have to know what have been done before. You have to understand the vision and mission of that department or institution, what has been done before, what is before you to do now, and how all of those things align to help you achieve your vision. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So, in order to the issue of accountability, Mr. Cummings has repeatedly said his plan first is to audit the government to make sure he knows what is at stake when it comes to the issue of accountability. You have to assess what has already been done, the damage that has been done. You have to assess it before you start doing more damage. That's what this current government has done. They came to power.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's just greedy, so arrogant. They took public, they've taken public leadership to be a joke. Now things are at the neck. They're getting drowned. They're already almost drowning. And now we're ready to say the Liberian people are ready to. We're not allow you to get drowned because you need to give account. You and others in the past. So Mr. Cummings has promised, he's pledged as part of his plan to first for a complete audit and also to depoliticize institutions that are, by law are meant for public good. But currently we're seeing that institutions such as the security sector is more political. The health sector is more political. So those are things that he wants to do, decentralize government. But he stressed some issues to be very careful about the decentralization process. So you want to go when you listen to Cummings, you know, take out the political cap, whether you are from CDC, whatever party you're from. Listen to him. What he's saying doesn't make sense. The things he says. He has a plan. He doesn't just say things. He has plan and he lays out his plan every time. But the problem is that people's mind are so clouded
Saki,
with their party sentiment. So they're gonna come to the conversation to just block his whole idea like it doesn't make sense.
Dr.
It's a lot
Golafale.
of things that he said. And
Mm-hmm.
I want to stress more on some of the things that he said about his plans,
Mm-hmm.
and especially in the era of good governance.
And
Restoring
I will give
rest-
you more time to talk about plan, but that's something I want to, you saying that, people need to take off their political cap. I get that, that for the politician. But for me, I mean, for let me see, the partisans, right? But for me, who trying to inject myself here as a media person, there's one thing I can't
yeah,
take off: my critical eyes. I can't take them off. Or
yeah.
my critical cap, I can't take it off.
Oh
And
yeah,
the reason is
yeah,
simple. Many have come and said all the sweet things, just as Mr. Cummings is doing today. Ellen
yeah.
did it. We are did it. We are not happy today. Some people are. So that is why we are asking this critical question. Now, there is a major pronouncement Mr.
That's what I'm
Cummings
saying.
has
Let me,
consistently made. Hold on, Saki. There's a
yeah,
major pronouncement Mr. Cummings has consistently made, which is that he will grow the budget up to $1 billion. I don't remember the exact time frame, but I think he said within a year or within the first 6 years. So correct me if you remember the specific time frame he talked about. But there has not been any plan as to how he grows the budget to that $1 billion that he has articulated for us to see. He's just saying it. That has been the culture just say all the best things you can think about, and then they will buy it. I'm not buying it like that. I won't buy pig in the bag. So what is the plan that Mr. Cummings is
You,
talking about that will grow this budget?
you know, one of the most important part of very critical part of public leadership is the budget area, and we have to be careful how we you know try to punch Mr. Cummings' idea about growing the budget. And I'm not a budget analyst, and I won't stand here to do an analysis of how you know a budget can be grown up to a 1 billion. But that is not impossible. You see, when people who have had extensive experience in the private sector, like Mr. Cummings, they're known for thinking big. They're known for looking into things differently that can be done. So I share his philosophy of thinking big and being a risk taker, and innovating ideas. It's something that we have to have a conversation about. What is it that our budget is below 1 billion, considering our population. What are some of the constraints? What are the things we can do? If we can, the financial expert will be better to explain that than me. But as I said, I'm not going to go into what I'm not, try to be very careful here not to step on the experts, people. The experts can better come here and talk about the budget. But I think it's an ambitious plan and to grow our budget. What do you think growing the budget comes and brings about? What do we need to do to fuel in the revenue intake? What would be the sources of revenue to support our budget? What do you think we need to do? Simple. Restore trust for investors to come in. Open the line of trust. The rule of law. Those are things that support the country and also support our investors coming in. Tell me in the last 3 years, what kind of serious investors have come to Liberia to invest in Liberia? You can find it. I mean, people come and see the environment, the business climate, and all those things. It's not conducive for investment. They move. Most of the
All
people
right.
that are there are businesses that are closing. And, those are things that can support revenue, things that support revenue generation. The only way you keep them running is that you have to have a safe environment, a safe business climate, or the rule of law, justice, all of the institutions, public institutions that should be independent, like the judiciary. And Mr. Cummings has stressed that repeatedly. You have to restore trust within the system before you start. And those are the things. All of the things he said, they support building an economy at that level. But you can get there, the how he's been explaining it. How can you grow the budget? Tackle the fundamental things. Restore the rule of law. Restore public trust. Make sure you attract investment. Reduce the too much the bureaucracy in a lot of things. And one of the things I like when he said you try to implement the Liberianization policy, encourage more Liberians to invest into business, and those things can help. How many people want to invest now?
All
How
right.
many Liberians get contracts? If it's not foreign owned with a Liberian on the face. So all of these things are part of the corruption. When you tackle those things, it can help to enhance, growth in a budget. I think, but I say again, the experts can better explain these things. But all of what Mr. Cummings has explained over, those things are supportive to economic growth and growing our budget.
Thank you so very much. We got some callers, but callers, if you are hearing me, I'm sure you are. I'm going to take care of those who have written comments. So let's hear from folks writing comments, and then I will come to you to take your calls. That Saki Golafale will be more than glad to answer your question or respond to your comments. So Dr. Saki Golafale, if you can take notes, please do as I read these comments. Dr. Golafale, the saddest thing about Liberians, Dr. Saki Golafale, the saddest thing about Liberian, Liberians, the person here, Liberians does not. Liberia does not. I mean, Liberians do not look at how competent you are. If you do, Councillor Winston Totma, who have won 2011 will wear as vice president, then Liberians vote for people they have interacted with over the years. That is from Martin Brown making that comment. Martin, please take your time to put that pen on that paper so they can be easily understood. You make a very great effort there. Let's hear from Saba. Saba writes, what is the historical pattern of Coca-Cola itself and the operational development in Liberia? If we understand that, that will help with some form of decision making. So, what's your view on that? He's asking a question. Let's hear from Dolly Gibson. Voters want voters vote based on a lot of different things, but my problem with Cummings is his popularity and whether or not Liberians are familiar with him. What are the chances of running against a candidate like President we are, who is more popular? This person is preaching the popularity context here. Dr. Golafale, how long have you been knowing Mr. Cummings? Someone is asking a question. But yet, from Mountain again, since 2017 election, what influence have invested that Mr. Cummings take time with these comments, or else I will jump over them. Let's hear from Okoya James. Mountain, or responding to somebody, that one is not for me. Let me hear from Jerome Gilman. What happened in Nimba with the first primary, the first test of primary? He's asking a question. Let's hear from Tobe, responding to somebody, so that one is not for me. Let's hear from Abel. Mountain Brown Point of correction. Mr. Cummings' father is from Maryland. That one is not for me to read. These guys are accurate below there. What makes you think that Cummings will not be corrupt corrupt and nonchalant as our current leaders? Asking the question, this may sound humorous, but the name Cummings sounds cunning. So Liberians must be careful in knowing whom they insert into power before she lords it over their heads. That is Edward Amara raising some questions there. Let me see. I want good comments, man. I'm not saying yours are not good, but take your time to get these comments in. Foreign guy, Mr. Cummings said he will diversify our economy. He will invest in ecotourism, agriculture, get rid of waste in government, and reinvest, attract investment. That person writes. That is a good comment there, not because it's perfectly written, but he picked up something and he saying, making the case. Fiscal and monetary policy can be used to grow the economy, hence the budget. Let's hear from Agatha here. Agatha writes, so only investor we should wait for before we develop our country. Let's see people keep protesting all the time, but one day too, they will be in power. Same will happen to them. Trust me. I think it said co-host or something. Dr. Saki Golafale, a few comments there. We got our callers waiting. So quickly respond to those ones, and then we'll bring in our callers.
Yeah, thank you very much to the comments from viewers there. I mean, this is what the beauty of democracy, where we're able to freely express our opinions on things without being, pushed aside. And I respect everyone's viewpoint on the issue. And it's good to be critical, and that is important. And I know some people say, like Martin Brown said, yes, a lot of time people do not look at competence, and they look at people they've interacted with a long time. And that is why we need good civic education to educate our people on how to elect better people. Now, if you look at our parliament, We've not been proud with the best to boast of our legislature. They represent the people's interests. But think about the people that are elected there. If we look at competence, you know, that's the kind of education we have to take our people who can better do it. Look at past record and past results. Don't just look at education or the man can hand you some. It's tempting. I know the people are poor and they want to sell their votes out, but we have to bring in very good civic education.
Thank you.
And let me just run through a few. Someone is asking the historical pattern of Coca-Cola. I'm not versed with the knowledge to talk about Coca-Cola historical pattern, and I think people should look more about Liberia, focus on Liberia because Coca-Cola is not Mr. Cummings' personal property. It's like working with an institution and you leave it. He retired honorably, and that's what we should be proud of. That he went through the rank and file of that institution. He made us proud, and I think if you want to know more about the historical thing about Coca-Cola in Liberia, you might want to research it. That would be good. And yeah, a lot of comments about from other people. I mean, foreign guy, who else that person is. Yes, that what Cummings looks forward to. Ecotourism in agriculture, boosting the economy by investing in those things. Those are things that will help our budget grow up to $1 billion. And someone talk about investment. I got that. Let me tell you, investment is not only from outsiders; it's from Liberians also. The only way Liberians will invest in Liberia is that you have to give them the opportunity. Re-implement the liberalization policy. Focus on Liberians. They are experts, they are Liberians who know what to do, but they're not being empowered. They're not given the opportunity. Give Liberians the opportunity to invest in their own country. Create a friendly business climate. You see Liberians, if you look at the population of Liberia between since the war ended to now, you will see what time there were more Liberians or more people going to Liberia. At what time during the last 15 or 16 years? What attract people to the country? You will know. Just look at the trend in the population, and
Thank
then
you.
correlate that with the time, what was happening, the events at those particular time, why the
Mhm.
population were dropped, why the population increased. You will know what can attract people to the country.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. Now let's bring in our callers. Our first caller is Saba. Go ahead. Saba, go ahead. Your name, where you joining us from? I mean, I call your name already. Saba, are you there? All right. That person might not be paying attention. We will bring in Jimmy Eastman here. Jimmy, you are live. If you can hear me, go ahead.
Okay, again, Mr. Sieh, Mr. Bitterpaw, very good question, very good show, and Dr. Golafale, we welcome your presence and your knowledge here. Um, I know we have tend to paint our economy with a dark color, but actually there's so much potential for growth of our economy. One of our chief problems is ourselves. Because if people go in the country and they trying to, I know dozens of people have come to me and want to invest in Liberia. But when you go there and you do, and the ministries, the agencies do not facilitate investors and welcome investors. In other words, you have to have kickbacks here, kickbacks there. Paperwork is difficult. People don't do their job. It is one of the things that is frustrating the growth of the economy. If we could get out of our own way, if we could allow, instead of looking out only for ourselves, allow investors to grow businesses, everybody would benefit from it. And then, and Dr. Golafari made a mention of also the voting and the politics in the country. You see, politics is about who you like. It's not about who is the best candidate. Unfortunately, that is the nature of the of politics. So until we begin to focus on how can we get a candidate in there that will actually look at benefiting Liberia people as a whole, that will actually look at improving the system as a whole? We will always be where we are today.
Thank you,
So
Jimmy.
my question for the doc is, how do we, what is the political message now do we need to send so we can get the right kind of people in the right places?
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you so very much. Let me bring in Opa Dualo. Mr. Dualo, you are live.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, man. Thanks for the show.
Mm-hmm.
I just called to make a few points. Doctor, that's in the studio. One of my requirements for the next president of Liberia, something that I stress very heavily, is a person that provides a recipe for taking us to at least $2 billion. And what I've done is, Doctor, if you have time, Google this paper, A Guide to Picking Liberia's Next President. But to get us to the 2 billion mark, I published an article. It's all over the place. It's called Common Sense Economics. It's a recipe. It's something I really encourage Honorable Cummings to do. Provide the means by which you're going to get us to this money. Look, we should not be electing people that cannot tell us the formula they're going to get us to where we are supposed to be. There are papers out there, and I recommend you Google this paper. It's called Common Sense Economics for Liberia, how we can get to this mark of $1.52 billion. If we are going to grow as a people, we must provide the formulas for success. If a leadership cannot do that, we should not elect them. And I want to say something very unequivocally. People must understand it. It is okay and well for Honorable Cummings to have all the experience that he does have. There's nobody arguing to the contrary on that issue. But what I must say that experience must be written down. Let people see it being articulated properly. So it's okay. Honorable Cummings has this experience, and this is how he's going to get us there. Talking is not sufficient. Look, we're at a stage now where our president don't blame Liberians for anything that happened in the country, because I believe it is due leadership and the lack of law enforcement in the country. In fact, I wrote a whole new paper on that. Liberia has but one problem. And the issue here is, how are you going to actualize the vision that you think you have for the country? Okay? And I believe, personally, Honorable Cummings is the right person to lead this country, but he must actualize that vision. Let us see that vision. Let us see the formulas that he has to take us to the next level. That is crucially important. Talking is not sufficient. They must write it down. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Dualo. Thank you. Now let's come back to Saba. Saba, I hope you rally this time. Saba,
Yes.
are you there?
Hello? Yes, I'm here.
All right, go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Saki, I wouldn't like to plagiarize your dictions you use here in your comparison, but you have stressed that the experience from public corporations propels one in a better situation in running a government sector. When it comes to that, I just want you to tell me exactly, if Mr. Cummings comes into power, how can he satisfy the people now as compelled to bringing in new investments into the country? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. All right, that's a Saki Golafale. There you have it. Those are the callers and the questions.
Yeah, let me, quickly say that I want to respond to the last caller, but I didn't get all of what he said. That was a very important question he asked about uh, what whether he would set aside people or what. But I just want to thank all of the callers and Dualu, Jimmy. I can't remember the last caller, but if you can write his comment in there.
Yeah, that's Saba.
Good. So I agree with Dualu. He made a very strong point about the economy, and $2 billion is an ambitious plan. We definitely someday. Think about how the budget grew from 80 million to 500. What did the Ellen government do at the time? I mean, she had the best of technocrats, working at the time. So think about it. And Cummings is willing to attract people with, or the competence, the strong background, in their respective areas, not just based on political alignment, and to satisfy someone's political ego, but he's going to look for the best minds, and he's expressed it over and over. John Brown cannot do public administration, and you find him uh, running, how you call it, serving as doctor or a medical doctor at JFK, and another person cannot be, or I usually use John Brown as an example. So misplacing people, into different areas that they're not really, or their expertise do not call for. So those are some of the things that he's going to address. And the issue of experience must be written down. I agree with you. Experience must be written down. But I think when you look at the whole issue of experience in corporate area compared to our private sector and that of the public sector, the major difference is the issue of laws, our legislation to make sure policy agendas are pushed. So it's too bureaucratic in public sector than in the private sector. So, but the common thing about leadership is common. Leadership is common in both areas. That being able to come up with a clear vision and mission and make sure they are aligned and you work towards them. If you look at the ANC platform from Cummings, he's talk about what? He talk about engage, communicate, and evaluate. Do we evaluate our public officials, what they're doing when they're appointed? Is there any kind of communication among our public institutions on, common agenda for that enhances public common agenda that are towards any public good? And Mr. Cummings, ANC has given their first 100 days plan. And as his name goes, like talk and do, I've read through the plan that focuses on infrastructure, job and economy, building the economy from our 500 million to up to $1 billion budget, governance and the rule of law, gender, youth, and inclusive, the issue of inclusion and of disabled people and the young people. It is outlined there. When you listen to him, he tells you the how. He tells you how we can do this. Let's take our time and listen to Mr. Cummings. We'll get, most of what the questions we continue to ask. So I have access to the Cummings plan. I've seen it when it comes to the issue of infrastructure, health. But all of these things, all of the plans, when you look at all of the political parties, like someone said one time, they all have similar things. When you look at their plans, it's almost like they're copying from each other. But how do they make these plans into reality? You ask the CDC people, they can even explain their proper agenda plan. They can explain it to you to tell you whether there's something coming out of it. Ask them what has happened. And I wanted to make a point here on the issue of competence. Mm-hmm. And when I go back to the issue of the budget, as I say, I'm not a budget guy. I just thought about it when I forgot to mention it. I was reviewing a budget, I'm not a budget analyst, but common sense can tell you that when Mr. Tue and his team did a recast of the budget, and I'm interested in education, so I went straight and checked the education part and see what's going to education. And the budget is clothed with COVID, called a COVID recast last year. And think about what happened last year when schools went on lockdown. And then schools started to design strategy to come back, to do an alternative learning method like the e-learning and all that. Check other countries, you'll see how much they spend into the pump into education. to transition from traditional classroom to online. But you know what Liberia did? They cut down their education budget by 10%.
Well, maybe the
Yeah,
Samuel Twer needed to celebrate his birthday.
yeah. Twer and his group cut down the data recast and cut down the budget for education by 10%. And even at that time last year, the University of Liberia was striving to transition to online. There was no change in what was allotted to them before and after the recast. But interestingly, when you look at finance ministry, the budget was increased. In fact, the overall administrative budget was increased. Then when you look at the justification, like when you read a justification for why they increased the budget during the period of COVID, you read a line that says that the justification is based on, for administrative costs now, they increase that based on the allotted money for our domestic and foreign liabilities. How are those compared to education and health in the period of COVID? You know, when you look at some of these things
Well, Saki, maybe they're trying to beat down the debt. That's what I see,
yeah,
because they owe a lot of businesses,
yeah,
and so
yeah,
they put it on a finance ministry to pay the debt. Just
you
maybe.
owe
I'm
a
just
lot
wondering.
of businesses,
Mhm.
but in a period of emergency, where you're going to do a recast of the budget.
Well, maybe the stimulus they passed didn't include the businesses, and in order for the businesses to stay open, they need to pay some of what they owe them, so that they can have some money to remain open.
I need someone to explain that to me.
I need that explanation. I mean, that's the only thing that can come to my mind.
Why education budget will be lowered by 10%. But here is a whole interesting thing. The 2020-2019 budget, where in his group are justifying the increment. Now, they took
Saki, I think let's leave the budget.
I wanted
leave
to say,
it.
you know, it's interesting that when you see the level of incompetence within a governance structure, especially with I'm not. They will come and argue that, oh, that's not your era, so you can't talk. But it's just common sense can tell you that there are a bunch of incompetent people working. But you know, when someone says that the previous budget before the recast, it was 79 million. I think it was for education or health. The previous budget was 79 million, but then when they did a recast, it dropped to 71 million, 8 million off for education. And then in the 2020-2021 budget, they increased, they went back to 79. That is the previous budget before the recast. And then the message and tell you, say, there's a 10% increase compared to the recast budget. No, you are going back to the 2019-2020 budget that you reduced. You know, it doesn't make sense when people look at these things, they just let it pass under their microscope. I don't know what microscope they're using. But anyway,
that's why we have the national legislature to look at the budget and approve whether or not the allotment made by the executive, you know, those are things that they can approve, and also in the interest of the people. But if they don't catch them because they're blind, maybe they are blinded with brown envelopes, that's the accusation, right? Then that is another thing. But that leaves the budget. We have to conclude here.
I have a whole little review I've done on the budget bit by bit, comparing things and just weighing, you know, but I don't want to go into all the nitty-gritty of that. Because,
yes, please, because of time.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so very much. Folks, you are watching Focus on Liberia. Dr. Saki Golafale has expressed, though a member of Unity Party, he said Cummings is our guy for that good country that has been in bad hands and so in bad shape. He said Cummings is our guy. That is the conversation we have been having. Let me read a few comments and bring in my final two questions so that Dr. Golafale can speak on those, and then we will be out of here. Dr. Baktakula writes, Dr. Golafale, I have no doubt that Cummings is competent in financial management in an established system. However, my fear is that Cummings has no situational awareness. He does not know the Liberian masses, and he's not being helped in adopting Liberian norms. The gentleman does not even offer his visitor soft drink. What? A soft drink business you talking here, my man? Or relate to our local leaders. He believes that his non-profit is the way to help, but does not understand what Liberians like a personal touch. Wow. Talking about, I mean, soft drink, a soft drink business, we're talking, how many soft drink we have not received, my man? The ANC is a government in waiting. They claim that Cummings is a billionaire. What is he waiting for to build some entities that can employ other Liberians? Is he only waiting to become president first? If yes, then shame on him, that person writes. Like, yeah, from this person, Cummings destroy his political career as soon as he joined those corrupt politicians. He will soon harvest what he has planted. That Golafale, I have some comments here still. Let me hear from Sam Wallow. Sam, hey, long time, buddy. Where you been, man? 2 billion is not an ambition revenue proposition. Done properly, tourism can bring 2 billion annually in under 10 years. Tourism consumption in the Bahamas in 2019 was 4.4 billion. This guy is throwing some numbers at all, and I like the numbers. Let's hear from Dwalo again. 2 billion annual budget is not ambitions. Google and read. Look, you guys don't read it. I'm the only guy who is really here. I'm looking for 10 billion, 1 billion for the 10 major sectors. Then we are serious. You guys talking small money. Let's talk big money. Hey, Dr. Saki Golafale, respond quickly in 1 minute. Then I'll bring my final 2 questions for you to close, sir.
Yeah, great comments from the people there. You see, when you look at the story in Rwanda, the Rwanda story can encourage you to say, when you look at the Bahamas, you look at other countries in Southern Asia, how they're investing in ecotourism. It makes you to think big. Just ecotourism alone, if you read the Rwanda story, you'll see how much. And we got to not only invest in ecotourism, but there's this rebranding. We have to try to rebrand our country, give it a better image. The publicity out there. We need to strengthen our strategy to market our country out, and that's what ecotourism brings. When you see Rwanda right now, how much they invested in selling the good image of the country, because when you go there, you see. I haven't been to Rwanda. I wish to go there and see how. And we need to also copy best practices in the area, bring in experts, and invest in the area ecotourism. I agree with the comment, and Dr. Kula, I agree. Yes, Cummings has a very strong financial management background, and the issue of his relationship with Liberians is something that can be debated, and I think he has to touch with the people. You can see his engagement with the people. It's an ongoing process, and I think Liberians are feeling it. Little by little, we will build that. We'll build a very strong campaign on the CPP ticket, and 2023 will be a story to tell. And
thank you.
somebody said Mr. Cummings is only waiting to be president and to do good things. No, Mr. Cummings has done a lot of things. Read, follow his work, the Cummings Africa Foundation, follow the work of the Cummings, Arizona Cummings School, the STEM school. I mean, he's contributed a lot in education and human development, healthcare, and sanitation. There's a lot he's done. I mean, in his little will.
So Saki,
So
you
I
see
don't
that?
think
I'm not interrupting you. You see
yeah.
that comment from that viewer is telling. What it means to me is that the folks in the corner of Cummings, either they're not doing a good job, or maybe the people are not paying attention very well. Because if Cummings has all the very good accomplishment, why not president? Why not even serving in government? Why are ANCers and supporters of Mr. Cummings and the ANC not putting this thing out there for everybody to hear it? I mean, it's like the CDC. I don't know how much is being done, but we all hear all these stories about how much is being done, true or not, but we still hear it. So, I mean, that is a challenge. And I think is something for those who support Cummings to really do something about. He's done so much, but not many people know about it. Somebody can say that.
Yeah, he's done a lot. He's done a lot, and I think that's why some of us have come and we'll try to make sure we get on board with our adding to. I mean, ASC has uh, professional people and who are very good at recruitment and marketing the ideas that they want to put forth. But I intend to work with the ANC and the CPP and see that the message is resonated among the common people so that, people ask questions a lot when they don't know what is going on. And you're
Right.
right. And we're continuing to inform our people on the good works. And we're not gonna say because he did this, so that means it's a requirement to become the president because he did favor for people or he helped people. But everyone, one way or the other, have extended help to each other along the way. And Mr. Cummings has done his with the Cummings Africa Foundation. The records are there for what he's been doing over the years. I think we have to acknowledge that if we're trying to be very fair about his contribution to Liberia.
Thank you so very much. And sometimes when I think about this saying that is common in the Liberian political space, what has he done? Or what have you done for which we should make you this? Then I keep wondering, do these people really have to do so much for us? Is it that we are selling the presidency? Or what's the rationale of asking what the person have done? Are they basing uh the person performance on what the person have done before, that if the person have done for me personally or has done something for Liberia personally, it's a guarantee that that person will do well. I'm still wondering about that because Joshua arguably did something for Liberia. He
Yeah,
lifted the country's flag, right? He played for Lone Star, right? Is he doing well? That is another debate. He did something. We all saw what he did. He played for Lone Star. Some people said, he flew the flag during our dark days. That was something he did, right? But
yeah,
how is he doing now? As though doing something for your country is the guarantee or is the assurance or that once you have done something for your country, it means that you're going to do well. I don't see that, but Liberians continue to ask for it. Hey, Dr. Saki Golafale, we have to close here, but these are the two questions I want you to close with. Number one, what is the picture of a possible President Cummings government and its composition? And this is why I asked that question. They say if criminals will be good, you can know from the eve. So my question, who do you see around Cummings that can make a potential solid cabinet? In other words, I'm telling you, draw me a picture of the Cummings government and let's see whether I will pass the smell test for Liberians to swallow. Go for it.
uh, Mr. Sieh, it's a good question. Every question has to be answered and based on time and condition. So I will respectfully not give you any exact answer to the question of how the structure of his cabinet is going to be. Our major focus right now is to push for Cummings to head the CPP ticket. And as we're going on, we will tell the people the type of cabinet that Cummings looks forward to. But I think if you listen to him, he did stress on the issue of competence, and on the Spoon TV, he was asked about naming people, which he, of course, not it's not wise to something to do to name people who the goal right now is to get the CCP ticket first, and then we will come up with to answer these questions about what, but the cabinet is going to be, I think my opinion will be based on competence and people who have a track record of performing and showing results, and not just based on political alignment. And I mean, we have to be very frank about pushing this country forward. I think those are some of the things people feel uncomfortable with Cummings because the issue of I was in a party, so I must get some position without having any solid understanding of how to perform. It's a complete disservice to the country. We have to be serious minded about moving our country forward by in employing competence over incompetence. So going forward in CPP selection of the candidate, we look forward to who's going to be on the ticket, and we'll continue to support the CPP arrangement in as much as the collaboration holds, which I strongly believe will continue. And that is the fear from the other side, the fear that the collaboration won't hold. Don't think about whether it is Cummings going to head it or Boakai, whoever going to head the CPP. Let's support the CPP arrangement. That is what will guarantee a victory in 2023. But again, Mr. Sieh, I'm very grateful that we have this conversation. It's important for us to continue to have it so that Liberians can know uh, what it is that a man like Cummings brings to the table. He brings a very big package that we don't want to miss this opportunity. Let's go for it. Let's this time around, for the first time in the history of our country, when Cummings heads the CPP, it's going to be competence versus incompetence. We've seen the track record of Mr. Weir. We've seen it over the last 3 years. He goes to Works Lake. He have party during the week. The same thing Samuel Toy is doing, like he did yesterday. That shows the level of incompetence that resides within the government, and we have to root that out by putting incompetent people. So that's why 2023 will be the turning point for our country. We're going to be on the ground in standing in the mud, telling our people why they should elect competent over incompetence. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much. That was the voice of Dr. Saki Golafale, my guest, and we have been discussing his expressed interest for the candidacy of Alexander Bernard Cummings, not only for the CPP, but to be president for Liberia. I hope you were able to learn something. I will close with this from Dr. Baton Kula. And Dr. Kula, thanks for following and also contributing here substantively. Focus on Liberia, Ansony Sieh. It's deeper than soft drink. In corporate America, there is a way to interact with people. In America, there's a way our politicians interact with the masses. Do you remember the BS Summit? Oh, yes, I do. I remember that BS Summit. And this is where you miss it. And this is just for conversation. In Liberia, there's a way people see you as relatable and electable. So let me talk about the BS Summit. Why was there a BS Summit between Obama and a police officer? So there was a professor who came from out and he tries to enter his own house. Apparently, he didn't have the key. So he tried to get through the window and he was arrested for entering his own house. Obama, now giving it a deep sense of thought, was frustrated that a professor well known in his community entering his own house was arrested by a white police officer. And so he dismissed this police officer's action. Little did we know later that that police officer voted for the very Obama. So you're talking about BS Summit because Obama had erred. He spoke so fast and he got it wrong. And so he needed to say sorry. And that's what the BS Summit was for. So Dr. Kula, great point, but you miss it. Now with Cummings not being relatable, how can you relate to people? I'm not making a case for Cummings because I don't wish to make one. That's not my job. But I want to be part of the conversation. Cummings is running to be president. He has to go to the people. Isn't he doing it? He's doing it. He's
Exactly.
the only person of all the candidates that ran in 2017 who has visited the counties more than any other. He goes from community to community. He's making contribution here and there to schools, hospitals, you name it. It's just that the folks in the ANC not doing a better job. They need to wake up. They are sleeping.
And Cummings, Mr. Cummings is proposing great ideas to the government.
Thank you. And he's proposing great ideas.
He's not just sitting and criticizing. He's telling the government, this is what I think you can do to make it better. He's offering his expertise free of charge. Who else is doing it around here? Nobody.
So it's just like Liberians maybe are choosing who they want to relate to. Because if you are saying somebody can be relatable based on what they do, then Cummings is doing something. How much this president we are do for which they related to him? First, let's understand the issue of perception. They saw him as somebody of their kind.
Yes.
So on that basis, they related to him. Now for Cummings, they see him as somebody different. He spent more time in the US. He has so much money. Maybe the way he communicates does not resonate with them. Compare that with Darius Dillon. Darius Dillon communicates in a way that resonates with the people. What is he offering them? Practically zero. Zero other than lecture, sweet talk, bashing the government. Is that why the people are relating to him? Yes, that's why they are relating to him. So the challenge with Cummings is you have to find a way. And it has to be more than just visiting the people, contributing to them. You have to fine-tune your political language. You have to be able to bring other people in the picture. And that is the challenge he has. That is the challenge the ANC has. And that is the challenge supporters of ANC also do have.
Remember, he headed the CPP and led victory all around a lot of the counties.
That is another thing. So
that's something you have to take into consideration. It has to be emphasized that he was the leader of the CPP when a lot of these people around here that the CDC has got a bloody nose in 2020.
Thank you.
Cummings
has done.
Yes.
So Dr. Golafale, Cummings has done some things for which people should be able to relate to him. It is more so now than people choosing who to relate to, because for somebody to be relatable, if it is about doing things, he's doing some things. It is about likeness, then it's a different ballgame. Maybe you just don't like him, but people will relate to you somehow. It can be things you do, the way you talk to them, your consistency. So maybe it will come. But to say that he's not relatable because he's not offering soft drink, what is soft drink compared to other things that Mr. Cummings has done? I don't want to put myself in a situation.
No, let me say something quick.
No, Dr. Golafale, we have to go. You make your closing.
Let me say something quick. Just a minute. If everybody come with their support, Mr. Joseph Boakai, Mr. Dillon, or Mr. Uri, and Honorable Nyambli Kanga Lawrence, if all the parties come with their support, with a united voice, nothing is impossible. The only way people will be talking about he being relatable if they don't want to give their support. In politics, you have numbers that are important, but one of the primary reasons these parties came together is individually they cannot survive.
Thank you, Dr.
And that's where we need to sit and come together with a united force coming 2023. Thank you very much, and thanks to everyone.
Thank you. And so, folks, my conclusion on that Kula's point he made there, in the U.S., nobody giving soft drink, nobody even paying anybody's school fee, but they relate to them. They relate to them on the basis of what? Ideas, on philosophy, the party they are part of. So no, Dr. Kula, you miss it. And this is not a sermon. That is just my take to your brilliant point that you made there. It's just that I having to disagree. Folks, in cyberspace, this is how we'll come to the end of this broadcast here, I focus on Liberia. Dr. Saki Golafale, thank you so very much for availing yourself, something that some ANC folks will not do. They will not come to talk about the guy they support. All they do is sit on Facebook and write and talk. But go to a platform. It does not have to be this one. Just any platform. If I were a member of any political party, I would be everywhere to sell my candidate, to promote my candidate. That's what I would do. Maybe they have time. On that note, the song says, we are all Liberians. Bye-bye, folks.
We are